one of my highlights of that prediction, Way About Me. The Nickelodeon show called Victorious. And one of the stars from that show, Ariana Grande, she played one of the supporting roles.
Oh, wow.
But she did sing in a couple episodes. And when I heard her sing for the first time on that show, I sat up and I thought, she's going to win a Grammy one day. Now, this sounds like I'm lying, but I am being serious. I really thought that. I thought, she's so great. She's going to win a Grammy. And then as years went on, look who Ariana Grande is now.
It's the Onstage Podcast with Chris Ruppert.
Welcome to another Onstage Podcast. This is amazing. We're getting into summer weather. To tell you the truth, we had last week, we had one day it was 31 degrees. But now we're back to 20. And now tonight it's going to be 12 degrees. But in 31 degrees, the evenings, 9, 10 o'clock p.m., it's 22 out. Well, we have a really interesting guest today. She's a 23-year-old artist and interviewer based out of San Bernardino County, which means I should be wearing my cowboy hat, but I'm not sure if they wear cowboy hats there. Probably. No? Yes? No? No? I'm seeing if she's going to shake her head in the background there. Okay, and Victoria G's in the backstage right now. So right now she's currently a college student studying graphic design, animation, and motion graphics. So let's bring her here now.
Hello, sir. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
You too. Thank you.
Before we begin, Victoria, can you let us know a little bit of backstory of who you are?
Well, I just had a birthday a few days ago, so I'm actually 24 now. So I'm a 24-year-old artist. I do visual art, like graphic design, motion graphics, animation kind of stuff. I'm an interviewer. Been doing that for quite some time, since I've been in college, really. Around the same amount of time I started doing that. And I've done over 500 interviews already, which is pretty crazy. And I am a college student as well. I already have my associate's degree, and now I'm going for my bachelor's. So hopefully I obtain that pretty soon.
Nice. That's excellent. So tell us about whatever made you want to get into graphic design, graphic arts, and a little bit about TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment, what you do there. And you're using your name, Victoria G, no last name. Wanted to know.
Okay. I'll try to go in order. So the reason why I got into graphic design is because I've always enjoyed doing stuff like that when I was in high school, because I was in yearbook and stuff, but I didn't really know what I was doing. And then when I got into college, I actually originally majored at my first college in animation. And then while I was there, I realized that I'm actually really good at graphic design.
Nice.
Because teachers told me that, so I take what teachers say pretty seriously. Because I guess whenever you're actually in it, you don't see if you're actually good unless someone tells you. And I also noticed that whenever I was given a graphic design assignment, I was able to produce work a lot easier and be less worried, I guess, about how things are going to turn out. And so that's what kind of got me into that, was sort of that I not fell into it, but that I just realized I'm good at it and that I like it. And then with my company, TeleCinephile, I actually came up with that company during the pandemic, which, when you start a company during the pandemic, you're not going to get much work in the beginning. Get customers and stuff and do freelance work for them. I've done logos for people and stuff like that. And so I've been doing that for about a couple years, and that's been going pretty well. My goal is to expand it more. Like the pipe dream is for the company to get maybe bought by Viacom or something, and then they make it bigger, or that would be nice. But right now, it's just my own tiny little company, and I provide all my artistic services with that. And then why I don't use a last name is because my actual last name is kind of rare. So upon research, I realized I'm like the only person with said last name. So for safety, I use just my first initial. And then I told myself as I get older that I'll just reveal the last name. But then I thought, it actually works.
You have a stage name, and there's so many people out there who just use a name and decide on a moniker. Can you tell us a little bit about the type of graphic design that you do, animation and motion graphics?
Well, like in terms of like a style, I've always like gravitated towards whatever I've like watched on my own. Because when I was pretty young, all I really watched was like a lot of Nickelodeon and stuff. So like that kind of flat, cartoony, colorful look is what I originally just kind of started doing. And then as I got older and I was in college and everything, I kind of realized, to get hired, you gotta like have different styles that you can do. You can't just do one style, right? So I've been like trying to explore different things that are more like a horror kind of look or like darker. But I mean, like in terms of what I do, like on my own, is usually more like just going back to that flat, colorful look. But I mean, if you want to get jobs, you can't have a style, I guess. You gotta be able to do everything.
Yeah. And what kind of high-class companies did you create logos for? Like, can you give us an example?
I've done like really small companies, to be honest, and people who are kind of like just getting started because we're like all in the same boat, right? We're all getting started. Like one time that was pretty recent, I ended up interviewing somebody, and she was going to start her own production company, but she needed a logo for it. So I made a logo for her on that, and I think that was during the pandemic. Actually, I think that was like during it. So I did that one, and then there's also things where I don't do a full-on design. Like I did something for one client where I did not have to design the logo; it was already done for me. But they wanted it transformed into a vector, which a vector file is like, if you pull and stretch it, it won't blur. So you could put it up like on a truck or on a billboard or something. So I had to do like a bit of a technical job, not really a creative job, but if you're able to do both, you can get hired in both. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that new logo there, that's all vector. I don't know, maybe I could get you to improve on this logo, but
That'd be nice.
how about coffee logos, like coffee companies?
I've never like done one like for a job, but I have had to do stuff like that for assignments for school. They've had us do like fictional companies. They'll either give us one or you have to come up with a fictional company, and then they make you draw like 20 or 30 thumbnails, which are basically different ideas, different sketches, until you go into the final product. Which I've always said, like, one of my first ideas is usually my best. So the whole thumbnail process is like, oh, God. I got to go up like 30 more.
And do people ask you, or do you have to send emails and say, hi, my name is Victoria G. I own TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment, a graphic designer. We'd like to, or do they just come to you and say, hey, Victoria, can you help us out? Can you create
It's usually me making the first move. Like in my interviews as well, it's usually me reaching out, sending emails, and typing, giving myself carpal tunnel. It's usually a lot of that. But there have been some cases where like I've been reached out to, and sometimes I get jobs just because I interviewed somebody, and they notice that I do that as well. So, stuff like that just kind of works out where if you do multiple things kind of confirm together.
Yeah, the emails have to be written properly. Like you don't want to sound like you're just starting out. You want to have such a good email that people are willing to reach out. So where did you get the name TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment? Now, when you interview celebrities or people who are involved in the arts and entertainment, but you're using Wattpad, and I wasn't familiar with it until you mentioned it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't do audio or video interviews with people?
Well, how I came up with the name TeleCinephile is because I wanted to make sure that I had a company name that couldn't be stolen. That's like my own made up word.
Okay.
So I know what a cinephile is, I know what a telephile is, and I'm both those things. Where basically, like, you just are obsessed and like you love TV and cinema. So I thought, hey, if I just like marry the two words, no one will take that. So there we go. That's mine now. So
Okay, so you're just trying to make sure that the TeleCinephile has something to do with performers, has something to do with, I guess, file as part of philanthropy. No,
well,
your television.
a file of anything, like if you add the word file at the end of something that's spelled with the PH, it basically means that like you are obsessed with that particular thing. So you're a telephile, you're obsessed with TV kind of way of thinking. And I just wanted to make sure that not only it couldn't be stolen, but also that it showcases what I'm about. And in terms of arts, that's like so broad that it could be a stagnant image that I made, or you can make a short film and have that be your production company, which that's how I did it as well. When I made my short film, I had to attach a production company to it for film festivals. And it's like, oh, well, I actually have my own, so stuff like that. And with the
Wow.
interviews, the reason why I started using Wattpad in the first place is because as like a website, Wattpad was super user friendly, was how I first looked at it. And then as I was on there, I realized it's actually a pretty popular website. Wattpad has grown so much my website into an app. They make movies, they make TV shows. I mean, they've really like grown over the years. It's crazy. And a lot of people use it to post like their own short stories. Fan fiction is kind of how it started. But you can go on there, you can put any kind of creative writing you want, even if it is a nonfiction interview. And the reason why I kind of gravitate towards the written interview process, well, not process, style, is because I noticed that that was the easiest for a lot of people. Because it originally started with me just being like really shy and not knowing how to like talk. And at the time, I didn't even know what Zoom was. A little bit before the pandemic is when I learned what Zoom was, basically. And that just kind of stuck. And people liked that, and they were able to really think about their answers before they put it. They type it, and all I gotta do is check spelling and punctuation, and like 99% of the time, people get 100%. So that's good.
That's good. So you're saying that the company that made the Wattpad website also make movies?
They do, yeah. I mean, one that they're most known for. Um, it's a Netflix movie, but they also have played their movies in theaters. It's called After. It's a romance novel. It's how it started on Wattpad. Someone wrote their own romance story, and it really did well on the website. A lot of people were reading it. That Wattpad bought it. So now they have their own entity of that called Wattpad Studios, where they do make movies, like that one, for example.
So you said you made a short film and you were using TeleCinephile as because you wanted people to know that you actually had your own, I guess, movie production company. Is that something you might evolve into just doing movies, or are you going to stick with the Wattpad interviews?
Well, with the Wattpad interviewing, I keep that as like a whole separate thing from like my short film and stuff. It's a separate entity of that. I mean, to combine the two, I guess I would have to do like a short on me interviewing somebody or something like that. But um, I mean, like when it comes to the production company, that is something that I would like to keep evolving with for sure. I mean, I've always had like this dream of like working for a studio, but what would be really nice, and this is just a total pipe dream, is like if my studio gets so big that I team up with a big studio and then we make movies together. It's like this pipe dream I have, which is, I mean, it does happen. It does happen in the business. It's just, in my case, it might be unlikely right now for that to happen. But I have so many different things that I try to focus on that I just want to do stuff for this industry, whether I'm doing it for free or I'm getting paid, kind of thing. And I just want to give back to it in any way that I can. So I look at all the things that I know how to do, whether that be digital art or like movie production and see what sticks kind of thing and what people like.
Yeah, when I was in college, I took something called art fundamentals.
Mm,
It's for people who don't know what they want to do because art fundamentals had photography, drawing and
mm,
painting, life drawing, um, professional practice, anything relating, and you just have to decide what you want to do. So I went into photography. So I love doing Instagram. I used to have one
mm,
of these 35 millimeter Minolta 7000i for intelligent
mm,
before the digital camera was the 35 millimeter film. I used to work in the photo lab. I love photography. Um, and then I took computers. I got my computer programming diploma,
mm,
but I was always, I drew, I painted, I had my own comic strip when I was growing up.
mm,
And then it wasn't until like maybe 20 years ago when I really took it seriously. I got vocal coaching. I did a lot of singing at certain venues, and I really enjoyed it. And now the pandemic happened, so I'm hopefully I can get out and just start performing again. I was part of a men's group, so
mm.
that was fun. So let's go back to when I was talking about myself as maybe a 7 or 8 year old. What were you like when you were younger? And was there something that you were firmly wanting to do at the age you are at 24, but you don't find yourself doing now? Well, you got TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment. You're a graphic designer. Your name's Victoria G. But
Mm,
10 or 15 years ago,
mm.
you had something else in mind.
10, 15 years ago, how old was I? Okay, yeah, 9. Okay, so 15 is 9 years. I had to do some quick math there. I'm sorry. um, 9-year-old me. I always knew, well, like not always because I, when you're like 3, you don't know. But when
Yeah.
I was about 9 years old, then I will say I already knew that I wanted to work in the entertainment industry already because I always enjoyed watching my TV. Like my TV was my baby. That TV's dead and gone now. It broke, but that particular TV was my baby. And I used to just watch those all the time, like as white noise as I'm playing, or actually sit there and look at the TV the whole time. I was as they call a TV kid, but I say it very proudly because it wasn't that my parents stuck me in front of the TV because I was annoying or something. It was I wanted to be there. Like that was always like my main thing was just to watch TV, watch movies and stuff. And I always thought that I wanted to do that. And like the earliest memory I have of this is about 8 years old when I asked my mom if I could be a little actor child because I was watching a Barney and Friends and I wanted to go play with Barney. So, so I wanted to be an actor child. That's how it literally started. But my mom was, like, well, those kids are actors. They're not actually playing with Barney. They're acting with Barney. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't know, but I always kind of thought that I would have been a good little actor child. So I tell myself, but I probably would have been bad. I'm not like the best actor, so that would have been probably a disaster. I probably not have got any jobs. So that's how it sort of started with that. And then it sort of branched out to as I got older. Hey, I really like drawing and stuff. And I knew I wanted to go to college for that as well, like for animation and design. And then when I was in high school, I would constantly see commercials on TV again, for the Art Institute. And that was my dream college. Like, while kids who are watching college commercials for art, they want to go to Cal Arts and the Arts Academy. And for me, those colleges, I never saw commercials for them. They were more of the out of reach schools because they were like in San Francisco or deep in Los Angeles. While the Inland Empire right here, we actually do have an art institute. So I knew that was my dream school. Went there until it closed. I was there for 2.5 years and the school closed, unfortunately. So I was collegeless for a little bit. And then now at my current college, it's all online. so I get to do it all from home. And this is pre-pandemic too, that it was all online. Um, but I guess like in a weird way, like I always knew what I wanted to do. As like weird as that sounds, I always knew it had to do with the entertainment industry. And I tried so many different things and saw what stuck, and I found what I'm good at, I guess.
Have you ever met any famous people?
Like in person, full on meeting.
Yes.
So like
Meeting or interviewed or
well, for interviews, I like to think that I interview all famous people. They're all people who are on the TV and stuff, or they make
well,
their
that's
music.
fine. Okay. But how
Yeah.
about any biggest celebrities?
Oh, like in person, big celebrities. I did go. This was right before the pandemic. This was like November 2019. That's probably the most recent one. I did go to a meet and greet. It was Abby Lee Miller from the Dance Moms show on Lifetime. I actually did interview her in the past, and then I ended up going to a meet and greet a good like few months later, I think it was. Yeah, because I interviewed her back in the summer, and then in the fall was the meet and greet. So that was really fun. And I've met people like at award shows when I do seat filling. Right after award shows, everyone kind of gets up and they start leaving. But because I'm not part of the mosh pit, I'm inside the seats with all the celebrities. I get to kind of stay after. You get to get people's autographs and stuff. So I met some of the cast of Henry Danger. That was a pretty recent one.
Wow.
Which I actually met Jace Norman, the star of the show. I met him a couple times. I met him before that when I was about 15 years old. No, it was 2015. So I was 17 years old to get slimed. They were doing this thing where they were sliming people at different shopping malls. And it was like this whole free experience. So my parents drove me to San Diego so I could go do that and get slimed for the first time. And that's where I actually met Jace Norman before. And so I like literally saw him grow up, which is really cool.
When you mentioned slime, I'm reminded of that children's Canadian program we have called You Can't Do That on Television.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a bunch of kids, about 8, 9, some of them were, I think, 10 or 14. And one of them that kept getting slimed,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know until she was a famous musician that she was that kid, Alanis Morissette.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it was a show from the 80s. It was way before she even became Alanis. And if you go type in YouTube, You Can't Do That on Television, and then Alanis Morissette, you'll see her scenes getting slimed. I mean, did you ever interview somebody like from Hollywood? Harrison Ford?
So like someone who grew up in Hollywood?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
like in terms of like a star status kind of thing.
Okay, let's do that. Star status.
Yeah.
Have you interviewed anybody that had a star status?
Yeah, like an A-lister sort of thing. I'll
Yes,
be honest,
yes.
I don't get many A-listers. I have trouble getting those, but I do have a few. I have tried reaching out for A-listers, and I usually get turned away. So,
Well,
but I have interviewed a few. I have, you know,
you
at the
probably will.
time with Dance Moms being as big as it was, Abby Lee Miller, she was A-list, and I did interview someone from the Netflix show Fuller House.
Yeah. Oh,
I interviewed one of the kids on there, Michael Campion. So at the time that show came out, that would make him A-list too, you know. Who else? Like when their show was like really big. I'm trying to go by that. There is a show. Well, it's gone now. You know, it got canceled last week. But This Is Us was a really big show. And
yeah, it's been on 5, 6 years, I know, or 7 years.
Yeah, that one just ended last week, and but before it ended, I did get to interview 2 of the stars from the show, 2 of the kids, so that was really cool.
Nice.
And so, I mean, like when I say people are like A-list, to me, it's more of, well, what's the project that they're doing at that time that would catapult them to that star status kind of thing? Because people, it's very rare to stay A-list the whole time in your career. I think that it depends on if you're doing a blockbuster or something, then that catapults you. And I would say like out of the 500 or so people that I have interviewed, maybe like 2% have been of that status. And a lot of that is because I'm just lucky that they even said yes, because I've had a lot of trouble getting A-listers. They want you to be part of this whole official press junket, and then you have to get selected with a group of other journalists.
And you need a publicist, but
Yeah.
yeah. So tell us about your music.
Well, I started doing music pretty young. I was doing piano at like 4 years old, and I still do piano. I still take piano lessons, and I've had the same teacher the whole time. And I started doing guitar at around 12. But with guitar, I never took any lessons. I always just kind of just did it on my own because I bought a guitar and I thought I'm going to teach myself how to play this. Which piano for me, I would say is easier because I've been doing it longer, so I seem to know more of what I'm doing. Like with piano, I could read music, and with guitar, I really can't.
So you play by ear?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Also, then I'm just kind of messing around with it. I've had a guitar for a while. I started on a SpongeBob guitar, and then it kind of just grew, and I broke the strings on that. Then I got a real guitar after that. When it came to music in my family, no one in my family is particularly musical, but they still wanted, myself and also my cousin, because we're the same age, to do something musical and see if it sticks and stuff. And my cousin was okay with it, like he was okay with the piano, but he stopped taking lessons. And I like stuck with it the whole time, and I just do my best to make time for it and everything. And I've tried singing. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I like to think I can. Like how they say, if you sing in the shower, everyone sounds great, right? And then you get out of the shower and you sound really bad. I mean, it is one of those gifts that I wish I had. I wish I could sing really well because I'm obsessed with like American Idol and X Factor and all these singing competition shows. And I like to think I have an ear where I could tell someone has talent. I like to give myself a little bit of some props for that. I could always kind of predict the ones that are going to make it pretty far. Like one of my highlights of that prediction way about me, the Nickelodeon show called Victorious. It's gone now, but it was out from around 2010 to I think it got canceled in 2013. I want to say.
Whoa.
And one of the stars from that show, Ariana Grande, she played one of the supporting roles.
Oh wow.
But she did sing in a couple episodes, and when I heard her sing for the first time on that show, I sat up and I thought, she's going to win a Grammy one day. Now, this sounds like I'm lying, but I am being serious. I really thought that. I thought, she's so great. She's going to win a Grammy. And then as years went on, look who Ariana Grande is now. So obviously I was right.
Yeah, that's how it starts. And you got to realize that sometimes when you send out an email, I noticed that I sent out an invitation, future guest, and waiting for the response, and then decided 3 weeks or some odd later, oh, I got to check my junk folder just in case email got, and I look and their response is in the junk folder.
Oh, I've had that, yeah, where it gets moved in there.
Yeah, so now I'm thinking that all of those who I sent emails to, my responses probably went in the junk folder. But what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to write
I have actually been told that a few times when I do get answers. They will sometimes tell me that they found it in there. And it's,
yeah.
I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. That's the thing about emailing, right?
Yeah. So I don't push them. I'm not going to think that they're ignoring me because everyone's got to know that, like I had a few who said, sorry, we get invited all sorts of places. We have to make choices and we can't, we decided, it's like nicely, not like we don't want anything to do with you. And so we're like, we're unable to take your invitation because we got all these other invitations. That's the most nicest rejection I've ever received. You might call me a sucker for Hallmark movies, but there's one of these celebrities or actors who actually are part in the series, and I wanted to invite them on.
Mhm.
So I sent them a messenger message, in about 3 weeks or whatever message they said, my manager will have to fine you for contacting me directly. And I'm like, okay, Mr. High and Mighty, I
Oh,
don't like
wow.
I don't want you on my podcast. You're gonna think you're special. No, seriously. He said my manager, you have to get in touch with a manager who will fine you for directly talking to me. I'm like, what? Seriously?
Yeah,
So
I've never gotten threatened to be fined. The most I've gotten that was kind of similar, I guess, and like a whoa kind of response was oh god, this was probably a good year ago. I reached out to an actor, and I have this thing where I will reach out to you personally as well as your team. I will just send it everywhere. I go on IMDb Pro, I get all the emails I can, and you're getting a message, right? Like that's just me. Make sure someone sees it is my way of thinking. And if I send it to the wrong department, hopefully they can send it to the right person. And I did that with this particular actor, like I always do. And usually when I directly email them, like their personal email, it goes really well. I usually get an answer right away, and they make their own decisions, and everything's okay. They run it by their team, but usually it's fine. This case was a little bit different. I ended up not hearing back from him right away. I heard back, if I recall, I heard back from his publicist first. And then the publicist got mad at me, saying that that's against the law or something, that I can't go to the client directly, like poaching, I think was the word that was used. I'm not sure. And that really surprised me because I don't want to get in trouble, right? I'm trying to do this as cleanly as possible. And so I felt bad. And then meanwhile, I hear back from the actor himself saying that he would like to do it. And it's like, okay, but your person kind of yelled at me. So it's like, and I don't know whatever came of that. I'm not sure if like they ended up talking about it or what, because I don't think I ever heard anything else back from that. But that was a really interesting situation when I learned there are some legalities to what I'm doing. Even though I'm not asking people for money, it's like there are some legal side to it. So I started doing a bunch of research after that to make sure I don't screw up again. And it turns out that was just kind of a random thing that happened. It doesn't happen all the time. You know, you'll get some people who are totally fine with you, just like an Instagram DM, as like unprofessional as it looks, right? There's people that are cool with that, and there are other people where they want you to go through their team. So, I mean, it's just the name of the game, I guess.
okay. I reached out to somebody I would really like to have on my podcast, and their publicist, whoever it was, said, "Oh, thank you for the invite, but they're crazy busy these days. But good luck." And that was it. Boom. What if they don't really go to them? They just say, "Oh, someone wants to invite such and such up." No, no, no. But they never really were told, and they might say yes,
Mhm.
but the guy is so higher in his head thinking, I'm this guy's publicist. I got to do what's right for him. I'm his manager. So, yeah, I would actually reach out on Messenger and emails. And for
Mhm.
booking, contact this person. And I send an email. This was, oh, I'm sorry. At the moment, they're booked or whatever. So I'm like, why don't I just send an email directly to them at the first moment, right?
Mhm.
And stuff like that. So, but yeah, when he said that, oh, I'm sorry, my manager will have to fine you,
Mhm.
fine me. What? You go to you go to a celebrity's Facebook page, and you may see a button that just says follow because they don't want to
Right.
be bothered. But you'll also see send message button.
Mhm.
You should know that you have to send message button, that people are going to take advantage of that, send you a message. And they
Right.
never think of that. And I've been treated with kindness, and I've been treated, well, not with contempt, but I've been treated like I'm going to fine you. But apart from this person, a lot of their publicists and managers say, well, they're crazy busy these days, or they're, scheduled, they're sked. Their sked is crazy busy these days. or
Right.
people will actually reach out and say, thank you for the nice invite, but we got so much on our plate right now, but I really appreciate, but do you mind if we revisit it at a certain different line in the future?
Hmm.
So at one point, they're going to reach out, hey, remember me? You invited us to podcasts a year ago. We'd still be interested. Sure. I'm not going to say, oh, why did they say no? It's be kind. You're safe here. Have fun, communicate with you. I made a lot of friends. Um,
Right.
so stuff like that. So let's talk about that. You recently teamed up with cafepress.com to put your designs on shirts, buttons, and mugs. So can you tell us about that?
Well, I actually did that like a few years ago. I ended up doing that when I found that you can make your own little online shop using Cafe Press. It was a few years back, yeah. And I've always used Cafe Press to buy shirts and stuff. And when I discovered you can make your own little online shop in there, I used some of my excuse me. I used some of my graphic designs to put on shirts and stuff, and people want to buy merch. It's in there, you know. And so that was really a nice thing, you know, because I don't have a shirt press maker or anything like that. So all I got to do is just make the art, and then they have their factory and they produce it. So that's really cool. And I did the same thing for when I had a little YouTube channel with my cousin. We had a YouTube channel called Cousin's Corner, and we use that same website to do Cousin's Corner merchandise as well. So it's a really good little website. We spell it kind of funny to make it easier to find. It's Cousins, but instead of an S, it's a Z, and Corner, instead of a C, it's a K. So we spelled it kind of funny that way. Again, you don't want people stealing your ideas, right? We did 100 episodes, and then we did stop back in 2020
Oh,
because
wow.
with the pandemic, it got a little bit difficult to keep meeting up and filming, and his
Oh,
school
no.
schedule versus mine and stuff. But we did it for about 2 years. It was a nice little project that we did together. And if you can't find it, it's probably because it's too old now. I don't know. That's why YouTube does that. I'm not sure, but it's on YouTube. Everything.
Well, it's still on there. I mean, I'm not going to delete your channel anytime soon. I mean, there's tons of channels that are dead in the water
Oh
that
yeah.
YouTube just leaves them.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They don't. I think even delete anything, even if it's like a dead channel, as long as you're going in there once in a while, you like a video from somebody else, it shows that someone's alive in there.
Well, that's too bad that you're not continuing it. Is there something that you're doing now with the T-shirts and the graphic designs? You're still doing it with this company, or did you stop that?
I still have all my designs on there, so if anyone wants to go in there and buy something, then they totally can. It's all through Cafe Press, and then I would basically get notified if someone bought something.
Do they still contact you?
Um, I did get notified like a few times. I get notified that someone bought a shirt or something. You know, I mean, it's not consistent. It's not like I'm like Walmart or something where people are constantly buying stuff. But yeah, I've been notified a few times that someone bought something, and I use just Cafe Press for that. I don't have my own personal online store. I use their service, and my own little online shop is in there basically.
So what do you think of Squarespace? Is that something you'd be interested in using to build a website or something?
Yeah, I've thought about building a website, but I've just like really gravitated towards the magic of social media. And the social media is kind of like a website now. It's crazy. You have all your contact information on there, you put all your work on there. And I want to like do a website and put everything in there and use like a Squarespace or a Weebly type of builder, but I've just been having such good luck with social media that I haven't done that as of yet.
Yeah, what's this? There's something that people use. It's sort of like you just have one little link, and when you click on it, it gives you your Twitter, your Facebook.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's called Linktree.
Linktree. That's it. Is that something
Yeah.
you use as well?
I actually have never used Linktree because I just have everything identical to each other. So like if I put something on Facebook, it's also on Twitter. It's also on Instagram. I'm a little boring where I don't post anything different. So I haven't really done the whole Linktree thing. and my username is the same everywhere. But my main link that I have people focus on is my new short film, basically. And before I put that up, I had on there my cafe press shop. So I just have those two things as like my main links, because those are newer things or things that are constantly changing and stuff. But with social media, I'm pretty boring. If I post it someplace, it gets posted everywhere else. The only one that I would say I'm a little bit inconsistent about is Instagram, where I will have things on there that aren't on Twitter and Facebook if they're just me doing something random. Like if I take a selfie, I'll just put it on Instagram. I'm not going to bother people on Facebook and Twitter. But if it's like an interview or something, I make sure everywhere gets it.
Yeah, the same with me. I use the Parish Torch, make sure it's consistent. It's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Smool.
Mm-hmm.
But I just recently started a on-stage podcast Facebook, so I stream things there too. So it's just YouTube and Twitter. So I stick with that. I just joined TikTok. It's the Parish Torch and TikTok, so I should have the TikTok thing there as well. So I'm getting to a point. I said, okay, I'll join TikTok. You only allow 15-second videos and everything. So what would you like to be known for? Graphic design, music, interviewer? Like, where are you gravitating towards? Were you just going to do one thing, or are you just going to try to do it all?
The ideal way is like to do it all. But you can't really like predict what people are going to know you for. Like you could have an idea of, hey, I want people to know me for this or something. But I don't know. I mean, I've always just thought people should know me just as for being an artist, period. And because artists such like it's known in so many different forms. I mean, even interviewing, there's like an art to interviewing, I feel like, in a way. But when I say like, oh, artist and interviewer, just easier for people to be able to like differentiate between the two. Like, okay, so this person does both, right? But I think in a way, people probably know me more for my interviewing at this point because it's more consistent. There's constantly an interview being published versus I could go like a couple weeks out putting an art piece or something. But I think that's because art takes more time than interviewing. I mean, half the job is done when the person answers the questions, right? So all I got to do is just read it and then put it up. While the art, it's like it's all on me.
Did you grow up as a shy kid?
I would say like shy kid in a way. Like I was one of those people where I'm really, really quiet and I'm just observing everything. And then if I feel comfortable with that kid, then I'll go talk to him or her. you know? I'm more of a quiet observer first, and then I talk. But I think that's part of me being a Gemini too. Is that split personality thing? Like you're shy, but yet you're outgoing. I don't know if that's like what every Gemini experiences, but I know that we're kind of known for the split personality.
Do you think you'd be more effective if you did these interviews on Wattpad, you did them in person, or would it still be the same? And because you said, I have interviewed whoever, I sent them the questions, they took their time responding, and these are it. How about if you just met them and you said, okay, let's do the questioning and responses now? Would you be able to perform the same function, or do you think it would be different because now you have to say something, you have to speak your mind, you have to...
Yeah, I'm a better writer than talker.
Oh, okay.
That's how I've always felt. Like when I talk sometimes, if I go too fast, I'll like stutter or something and I get all in my own head about stuff. And I just think I'm a better writer than I am at speaking. Like if I'm talking to a friend, I find it much easier just to text them these beautifully crafted text messages than saying it. I don't know like where that stems from. Maybe it's my generation. I don't know. But that's just how I think about talking. But I have done some interviews where it's like through that format, it's just I've noticed it's so much easier for people to do the whole typing thing. I want to make it as easy for that person as possible because they're taking time out of their day to talk to little old me, That's kind of my attitude. It's like, oh, I'm not that special. You don't need to take a whole day to talk to me. it's probably like a modesty thing. I don't know, but that's just how I've always looked at it. And there are some situations where you have to, you know, do the whole Zoom thing, and you have to do it that way. I've tried getting on press junket tours for films, and they want you to do the whole Zoom option because you're going to be one of like 70 journalists who got invited to do it. And I don't get invited, but it's okay. I mean, it's fine. I just haven't had the best of luck with press junkets. I've tried getting in it took me years to understand how they even work. Because I did not know that you have to like reach out and get put on a list. And then you get chosen from that list if you're lucky. And they want to make sure that the talent is, actually going to get seen. That I'm not the one just benefiting from this interview. That I actually do get reads and I get viewers, and that their talent is going to get, noticed for this kind of thing. And I totally get it. And I would be surprised if I got picked for any kind of a press junket interview. It's just how I think. Like, well, that'd be really surprising if I did. But I have tried. I tried getting in for a few things, and I just haven't had the best of luck. Especially when you do these press junket things, you have to pick one person. So you're putting all your eggs in one basket. You don't say, just give me whoever. You say, okay, I'm coming to the studio for this movie, and I pick this person from the movie. And if their team says no, it's over. You don't get a second chance.
I had the same problem. I invited you on the podcast, so can you just send me an email saying, yeah, I don't think they're available, but we have these people. Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, people just suddenly just snap up and say, oh.
I think what it is, honestly, because I did not know this in the beginning. I had to learn all this on my own. I never took a journalism course in school. I'm completely self-taught with all this stuff. So I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Right? So it took me a few years to learn, like, oh, you have to reach out to the studio, for example. I always thought you want to interview somebody, you reach out to their team. Well, if they're like a really big star and they're constantly working and stuff, or if they are having a project out once a year, you have to interview them for that project. And you're part of a press tour kind of thing. They're not going to just talk to you, take a whole day to talk to you, right? Because you're part of like 100 people or whatever. And now with COVID, there's so many less people. They'll have you like in a Zoom call with about 40 journalists or whatever. I mean, press tours now are much smaller than they were when I was growing up. When I would see the big old stage and it was a whole thing. And then when COVID hit, that all went away, it feels like. But I tried getting on the press tour for the movie Tenet. I don't know if you heard of that one. Yeah, that movie came out during the pandemic. So, of course, no one got in because we did not get a American press tour for that. Any Tenet interviews that you look up, they're all from another country. And I was in touch with somebody from Warner Brothers because I kind of learned as I was talking to people, like, oh, I have to reach out to Warner Brothers to be a part of this press tour. I can't contact the actor's team or the director's team. And how I learned that was just by trial and error, trying different stuff. And I reached out to them, and they told me, well, because theaters are closed, we're not doing an American press tour. So you could say I was rejected, but in actuality, everybody in America got rejected. And that's what I was willing to do. I was willing to do like a whole Zoom thing and be part of that tour. But I couldn't get in because no one in America got in. Like, there are certain journalists who get everybody. Like Jimmy Kimmel. He gets everybody, right? And if Jimmy Kimmel couldn't get anyone from Tenet, nobody was.
And James Corden gets to do karaoke in the car.
Right.
Car karaoke.
Right. So different talk show hosts like that, they're like the blueprint for, hey, if they couldn't get them, no one's getting them.
Or you can touch with a publicist. I've gotten in touch with publicist managers, and all they say, they're crazy busy, whatever. So I prefer to connect directly to them themselves with the email that they provide. And also when you were talking about how those that you want to interview, press conference, and you got to kind of strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah, it's all about timing with that stuff.
You communicated and connected with me. So my manager needs to fine you for that. I'm like, okay, dude. So is your throne made out of gold or what? Like you're just a normal person.
Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, when it comes to this kind of stuff, it's not really like someone has a big head or anything. I never really looked at it like that. It's always like when you have a team of people, they're going to look out for your best interests, I feel like. And when you have smaller platforms like yours and like mine, if I was, let's say, a publicist or a manager of a big time musician, let's say, like, let's say I was Justin Bieber's manager. Okay, like he's been famous for like 10 years. That's a long time
Mhm.
to be up on the A-list scale. I would tell him, this kid seems nice, but let's be honest. She wants to interview you to get her numbers up. And we're not here to do that. We're here to promote your album, and you need to go on platforms that people are actually going to hear about your album, people that are already established, which I totally get it. And I mean, at the same token, though, you could look at it like, well, how do you get big unless someone gives you a chance, right? So, I mean, you're just kind of coasting through it if you think about it. And so many of these independent journalists, when they get a job like at, I don't know, Access Hollywood or something, that's how you maintain yourself on that food chain kind of thing, where you are working for a bigger company. If you're doing it on your own, you're going to have a harder time getting bigger people. And if you're lucky, they'll answer you and stuff, but will it stick and you actually get them? Because to give another example, the new Batman movie, I actually tried getting on the press tour for that, which, to get on a superhero movie, I mean, that's already like, are you crazy? But I tried to get on there and I reached out 6 months in advance because I really did not know how early you're supposed to reach out. I was really confused. I could not find that answer anywhere on Google. Like, how soon is too soon to make sure someone knows who you are? And lucky enough, it was the same person from Warner Brothers who I spoke with during Tenet. So maybe she remembered me, I don't know, but she responded to me right away. And she said that I'm there too early. So oh, okay, well, when should I come back? She said, come back in February, because the movie's in March, so they do press during February. Like, oh, okay. So February 1st, I bothered the poor girl on February 1st. I'm like right there in line, trying to get in. And it was looking good. I mean, like when I say it was looking good, it was looking good because I was getting answers and they were wanting all my numbers and I told them, you know, if by chance you want it through Zoom, you want in person, like any format you want, just let me know. I'll make myself available. It's all good, right? I was like really selling myself, and I felt really good about it. And then all of a sudden, I see that there's already some press happening. Some of the cast is already going on certain TV shows, but they're not part of the press junket. They're just, like a Jimmy Fallon TV shows, not press junket. Like, okay, well, maybe it's no big deal, but I still reached out. And that was, I want to say, on Valentine's Day. So I'll always associate Valentine's Day with this because I basically got broken up with, if you think about it. I reached out to Warner Brothers and I was, confirming if I'm still on a potential list. And I was told, oh, I'm sorry, but, you didn't get selected. I go, is it because I reached out too late? I want to honestly learn what I'm doing wrong so I don't do it for the next film. Because there's like 100 films a year. I have 100 chances to get it right. And this movie was like right in the beginning of the year. So tell me what I'm doing wrong so I stop looking stupid. And she told me, well, that I reached out on time. It was just when it came to the stars schedule, they could only select X amount of people and you just weren't selected. I was on a list of, hey, check her out. But obviously the actors team maybe didn't think that I was, big enough or something. And I did ask her that. I go, is it because maybe I'm too small? And she did say that maybe that could be it, that they wanted probably bigger people. And who I was trying to get was Batman himself, Rob Pattinson. I actually went way for it, trying to get the star. Which I think about it, I had like no chance, but I tried. So I mean, that was a big one. When you look at stuff like that and you think, you have to accept the fact when you're small, I think. You just have to accept, like, I'm small, I'm not getting anybody big, but that doesn't mean don't try. Because they always say if you don't try, you'll always fail, right? So if you try, you never know what could work out, what could come from it. And I don't regret trying. I'm glad I did because I learned a lot about how this stuff works. And now I'm trying to get in for all different kinds of stuff. I try to get in for Stranger Things. But with that one, I didn't really get many answers on that one, so that one wasn't looking too good from the start. Well, with Batman, it was looking really good. I actually thought for sure I was going to get it.
What if you were just decided to go to the restaurant because you were frustrated, you tried to reach out, and he walks in? Would you jump out and say, "Hey, they told me that you were busy. Now that I got you, can you, do you think that would have been rude? Would you have gotten in trouble for that?"
I'm a genuine Rob Pattinson fan that I don't think I would even be able to speak. I've been a massive fan of his since I was like 12 years old. So, I mean, that right there, I like to convince myself I would have been able to interview him, but I just know I probably would have been too starstruck or nervous or something. I probably just would have blew up the whole thing. That's what I tell myself so I can sleep at night. But, like, in general, if you see anybody who told you no, right? Well, it's not even them. It's their team who tells you no. Would you ask them if you saw them somewhere? I honestly wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't. I think, hey, you see someone at a restaurant, they're with their family, don't bother them. More of the world I come from is like, hey, if I was in that situation, I'm trying to live a normal life right now, and to be, I guess you could say bothered by somebody. Like what if that bothers them? And part of my love for the industry is respecting the people that are in it. And I just don't want to disrespect somebody or come off pushy or something crazy. But if you see them at a work kind of venue, right, then you could talk about work, right? Like, hey, we're all here, this networking thing, and you see somebody famous and you could ask them directly, like, hey, I'm a journalist, you want to talk to me or something? But at the end of the day, they still have to go through their team. That's a lot of people think it's the celebrity who makes the final choice. No, it's really their people who will determine if we're worth their time. I guess you could say.
Yeah. There's this woman, and she's a publicist, and she says that she has a list of all these famous musicians. Mm-hmm. So contact me, have me on your podcast, and I'll show you the list. So I did that, and I'm like, come on my podcast. I would like to hire you as my publicist. Nothing. I don't want to use people. I don't want to say, oh, you're friends with Tom Hanks. Hey, is there any chance? I said, what, you're using me? Is that why we're friends? So say, like, oh, I know Tom Hanks personally. Cool. That's all you're going to say? Yeah, he's a great actor. And then you have a podcast and you want a celebrity. They say, how come you never asked me if I could get you Tom Hanks on your podcast? Oh, we're friends. I don't want to use you for that. Yeah, but I would have offered. Yeah? Okay, see if he's available. But I wouldn't say, so if you want to make friends, you tell people that Harrison Ford is your uncle, or such and such. They'll be all over you. They'll want to be your friend because they don't care about you. They want to meet them, right? I've had that several times, and to tell you the truth, I'm tempted to actually hire a publicist and pay them to find me. Just like I do all the work. I got my own publicist, but if I had one, I could pay them to locate these people for my podcast. All I have to do is set it up, sit down, boom, do the interview. Otherwise, I'm sending emails, responding to them, telling them the times that I have available. I don't do podcasts on Sunday anymore, this and that. But I'm not going to use somebody and say, I know this person, I know that person. How did you find me, by the way? I'm just interested.
Through Kylie, actually, because you interviewed her.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can maybe. I had a publicist contact me. She said that she had someone in mind that would love to be on my podcast. I just freaked out and said, "Yes, I am glad that you chose me. I really appreciate that. You make me feel good."
Oh, well, thank you.
So, so you are so passionate about everything. You're passionate about music. You're passionate more about graphic design. You're passionate about wanting to be that journalist in there to be chosen to do the specific task, whether it's Rob Pattinson or whoever, and do the interview, whatever it is. And one day you're going to get that big deal. It's a big deal when you worked all this years to get that certain person. You get a chance to meet them, and you do. You have to figure out, if you meet them, what are you going to say to them?
Is this like a professional thing or like meet them on the street?
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, like,
I
well, yeah,
like to think that if I interview somebody who I'm a big fan of, because I'm a big fan of like a lot of people, like another one is like Cher. I like love Cher, and if I and I have tried interviewing Cher, and that I don't even think I got an answer.
I don't know, but I know that one time, my one of my relatives, um, they like to go to the Toronto Film Festival.
Mm.
You sit down and you just watch films that won't be out for a year, so you get a chance to see them ahead of time.
Right.
And lo and behold, Sting was sitting beside him.
Oh wow, that's cool.
My thought was, I want Sting on my podcast. You sat beside him, and did you like have a conversation with him, or did you just ignore him throughout the whole day? It's sort of like, oh, I'm not a fan of Sting, and I'm like, well, I am. But I'll tell you one thing: if I sat down someone who was very famous out there, I'd try to get a conversation with them. I wouldn't say, hey, yeah, can I have you on? I'd be like, yeah, that's great. So what do you do? Oh, I do this, I do this. Yeah, you got any hobbies that you enjoy? Yeah, I have a podcast, and blah, blah, blah. So, oh, you have a podcast? Yeah, I'd love to be on it. Really? Sure. Meanwhile, inside you're doing like somersaults and stuff. So you got to do it right?
Mm.
But apart from that, you get some really nice, down-to-earth people. And if you open with them and you're friendly with them and make them feel special like you, and warmth, like, already I want you to feel respected and warmth, a safe place here. And I really appreciate that you literally told me that, how do I get on your podcast? I'm like, just ask. It was great. And I try to make you feel at home, but I enjoy it. I enjoy talking to people, and I was a shy boy. I hardly spoke. But now it's like, it's easy for me to talk to people, and I just talk their ear off. Sometimes I don't talk at all because my mouth gets tired, and my mouth is starting to yawn. So I would just, yeah, sure, yeah. Anyway, gotta go. Or I'm just like blah 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 blah, just talking, and suddenly, how many ears do you have left? Well, my other ear just fell off. It's like we're just having a conversation, you and I, like over coffee. So, where do you find yourself in? I want to say 5 years.
Okay, I'll be 29. I just had to remind myself because I just had a birthday like a few days ago. So I had to remind myself like how old I am now. 29. Hopefully, I would have my bachelor's degree, and hopefully, by that point, I should reach about 1,000 interviews by that point.
Okay.
And hopefully, working for a TV film studio. That would be nice.
Yeah, why not? So behind the camera or in front of the camera?
Definitely behind. Yeah, and in front, I think I don't have what they want. I think I just do better behind the camera. Like in front of the camera, you do have to have like this air of like confidence for sure to project that, and I don't think I really have it when it comes to like acting and stuff. As much as I enjoy drama in school, and I just don't think I'm like pro level.
Do you have lasting relationships with the ones that you interview? Like, are you friends after that, or you interview them and then you just don't hear from them again?
It really depends. I mean, there are some that it is like just to interview them, that's it. Because a lot of the time, I'm talking to their team, and then they're sending me their answers or something. But there are
Oh,
like certain cases where I do like maintain a good like like a friendship with them, or like or like there have been a couple times where they also do interviews, and then they've had me on like their show, so they like return the favor kind of thing.
nice.
And like you say happy birthday to the person and stuff. So I would say nice little acquaintanceships after the fact.
Acquaintanceships. I like that. That's a new word. Hey, can you add it to the web series next year, please? I like that acquaintanceship. Yeah, actually, that's a good word. I don't think that exists, but great. Wow. Um, yeah, that's awesome. So TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment. What an amazing, amazing name for a company. And you've actually registered it and you have a logo for it. I think you do.
Hmm.
And it seems more professional when you tell people that you're from. Do you say you're from TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment or TeleCinephile?
Well, like whenever I'm doing like reaching out for interviews, and I don't really mention it because the interviewing is just Wattpad and that's it kind of thing. But for art, I will say that I have a company, and here's the full name, and here's a link to my work, and you kind of have to like sell yourself a little bit different. I think when you're doing art, people want to make sure you actually can draw and stuff.
Yeah. When I was first starting, some of them would come back and say, "Well, you're not really fully established," and I don't really know. I'm like, "Huh? Fully established?
Yeah,
Like, what does
I've
that
never been
mean?"
told that directly, but you can kind of tell it, like when they say, "Well, you're smaller," kind of thing. Like, that's the word that's used. Well, because you're
Ooh,
smaller,
ouch.
and trust me, I own it. Like, yeah, I'm small, and I have a lot of audacity trying to get your A-list client. I know, trust me, it's crazy. I don't
So
get
do
like
you?
offended by it because I agree. It's like, yeah, I'm small, and who the heck do I think I am coming in here?
My name is Chris. I have a podcast called On Stage. This is what I do. Here's the YouTube link. You say, "Well, we'd love to, but this and that," or they say, "I love to." I'm not going to try to put the wool over your eyes. Say that such and such. Just because let's say I interviewed Harrison Ford. Yeah, and just recently I interviewed Harrison Ford, thinking that say, "Oh, okay, Harrison Ford, great, the car dealership." You know, oh, you didn't not Harrison Ford, the actor? No, Harrison Ford, the president of the cigar company. But I'm sure that you're going to get. I hate saying famous because everyone's famous in their own mind. I don't. You're going to get that Hollywood type person who did movies, that did singing, everyone knows, put out records. One day you're going to get that certain person. Then you have to
Right.
figure out what are you going to do when you do. Like, what would your reaction be?
Well, because I always try to think that I would be able to just kind of like be calm and stuff, but I mean, just the process of like applying for these press junkets and not knowing if you're actually going to get them or not, I'm already like thinking, well, what questions am I going to ask in case I do get picked, and I write them down and stuff, or like I think I over prepare when I don't get picked anyway. But I over prepare thinking, what am I going to wear? And stuff like that. When in actuality, it's you're too small, and it is what it is. But
When they say you're too small, that is like, oh my goodness, you're too small? Excuse me? I mean,
no, and that's the thing, and it probably should bother me, right? Because some people will probably get really bothered by that comment, but it doesn't bother me. It's like, yeah, I know, huh? Like I own it that I am small, that I'm not a James Corden. I own it. And I understand it's like you reach out, the chance of them giving you their client, it's very slim. And I know it is. I know it's very slim. But I gotta try it. Because if I don't try it, I'm always gonna wonder if I could have got it. That's
yeah,
just my personality with everything. I have to
it's
try.
yeah, it's not a lie to say that my own company, TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment, and I interview celebrities. But to you, a celebrity is Tony Smith, who plays in the band, who has one album out
Mhm.
and walks around town saying hi to people and having coffee with them. But people say, "Oh, you have TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment, you interview celebrities. Oh, we have one for you here." It's not a lie to say, "My name is Victoria G. I own TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment." Oh, yeah, what do you do? Oh, we interview celebrities. We talk to people. We do logos. We do a lot of graphics arts. Wow. And then that's all you have to say. Let's see what kind of celebrities. Then he says, "Well, there was this TV show. Wow, that's great. Oh, yeah. And I also have this movie. Oh, you know what? I have someone for you. I think I actually had that where a friend of mine got me somebody on my podcast, and then they told me that they knew people. You know people, they'll know people, and then so it actually works out. But if you
Right.
just say, "Oh, I'm a small little company, TeleCinephile Arts and Entertainment, and we interview people who are celebrities, but not everyone knows them." I mean,
Yeah, I've
it's
always felt that in writing, like you really have to oversell yourself. I have experienced that where I have to make it look a certain way. I have to, like, I know I'm small and the numbers will show it. There's no hiding it. But I try to make myself come off as professional as possible and as much like I know what I'm doing as possible. um, what would be a good example? I tried getting on the press junket tour for Nightmare Alley. I don't know if you heard of that one. I think it was nominated for an Oscar, that movie.
wow.
And I tried getting on there because I'm a really big Willem Dafoe fan, so I was trying to get him. And of course, going in there with the audacity, I can get Willem Dafoe, who's been working for like 40 years. And they did ask me, who are some people you've interviewed? What are some interviews that you've done? So I send my link, but they wanted to obviously know bigger names. You got to do some name dropping, right? So I have to be honest about who I interviewed because it's all right there, but you got to do some name dropping. So, like, to me, This Is Us, that's a big show. That's a name drop. Fuller House, that was a big show. You know, if you look at the level of how big a show or how big a movie is, that could help you when you're name dropping. You're not dropping names, you're dropping movie names, you're dropping show names. Because I don't want to make anybody feel like they're more big than somebody else. To me, that's not right. But unfortunately, they kind of want you to name someone bigger, right? Because they want to make sure that their client who's big isn't the only one that you've spoken to, that you've spoken to plenty of big people. And I haven't spoken to many big people, but they've been on this big movie, this big show. That album that they did reached the top 10, stuff like that. You could kind of use those wording and it helps you to make yourself just look good, I think. So
Yeah,
that's
but
one way to do it.
I write an invite. My name's Chris. I have a podcast called On Stage. We'd like to invite you onto our, and and then I set them up. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
And then people come to me and say, "Yeah, such and such really wants to be on your podcast." And I'm thinking, wow, people want to be on my podcast, like you, for instance. And I feel so honored. I got to make sure that it's a good show. I got to make sure good questioning, good interviews. I don't want them to go away thinking that guy knows nothing about, like, I've interviewed people better than he has and stuff like that. And so apart from that, I just try my best. And eventually it's going to come to a point where, I said was my dream guest. I might have them on. Like if I interviewed Harrison Ford or something, or Richard Dreyfuss, I'd say, "Yeah, who do you interview?" I would come up with just the names of the people that I have interviewed, and say, "Oh, can I have your podcast link?" "Sure, here's my podcast." And they check and say, "This guy interviewed Richard Dreyfuss and Harrison Ford, but when I asked him who he interviewed, he didn't mention." It's like, yeah, because you're trying to be humbled, right? You don't like, well, I interviewed such and such. Have you? I checked your podcasts and I don't see anybody famous. You know what I mean? You don't want to be like that. You want to be humble about it. You want to get to have these acquaintanceships. You might end up with good friendships. Um, And if I ever do find a publicist, I want to see how much they charge. And number two, when I ask them, so who do you have? I would just say, yeah, a publicist. Wow, what's it like to be a publicist? That must be awesome. How many people do you, this and that? So yeah, well, do you and then you mention the name of a celebrity, whatever. No, but I have a list, and here's the list. And said, oh, and you're looking at the list. You say, wow, these are quite a list of people. You want to do it professionally. You don't want to be like a schoolboy who jumps up and down because he has he found $10 or something. You want to do everything professionally. I just say, yeah, I have a podcast on stage, and here's the link. And they look through it, and they may say, oh, wow, he's interviewed or this and that. I just want to be humble about it. And plus, I have a strong faith in God, so I want to say that the Lord was the one that gave me this. Just take it one day at a time. But I'm not going to be like trying to make myself look good because I have people who, I just want to be myself. Hey, Victoria, thank you for being on the show. How is everything? Someone with your high standards on my show,
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that one day you're going to land somebody that you really wanted to land, like a dream. So that's how I learn. It's just that they're just people like you and I.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying that guy who said, oh, my manager is going to fine you because you contacted me directly. I mean, you can at least say, oh, you have to contact me, but go through my manager. So, but thank you anyway. I'm saying, oh, great. Some of them just, they're well known if they're on TV and movies, whatever, but they're just people like you and I.
Yeah, and I've always like been aware of that fact as well because I've always heard that too, that they're just like us kind of thing. But I think a lot of it's like when you're passionate about like a fandom, which I grew up always like being being passionate about like boy bands or whatever, like any regular girl, and you have to think like, wow, like you followed someone's career for so long that to actually be able to speak with them about their career, to me that just seems like it's really exciting, and I just worry I won't be able to talk is what I like to tell myself. But who knows? I mean, I have enough time to prepare. I could practice, and I got this. It's one of those things. Like I kind of just go back and forth with it, where like I might freak out, but yet I think it'll go well. It's one of those things.
What if there's a celebrity or someone who's well known or an author or whatever that you simply just don't like?
I haven't really had that issue, to be honest, because I'm able
okay.
just to look at the person's work. I look at what they do, and hey, if I like your work, I think you're talented, then we're good to go. I don't really like delve too much into celebrities' personal lives and stuff, even though it's like all over media. You got to kind of sift through all that and focus on the crux of the matter, which is that they're artists and you're following them and you have opinions about them for their work. And if you genuinely like them as a person too, then hey, then that's a plus. But I've always thought if I do have to interview someone who maybe I don't agree with their views or just something, right? Like, then I would treat them the same way as I would with anybody else. I don't think, you treat them different or you don't want them on your show just because you're not a fan. To me, then that's not fair. You got to treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
And I think that's also part of this whole like interviewing world, I guess, right? You interview somebody who may know someone or their publicist could also be a publicist to somebody else. But if I like look at it in that way, if you look at it in those terms, it can feel like you're like using people in a way.
Yeah.
I just want everything to be like, hey, when it's your interview, you're going to get the same treatment as the next guy, even if he did 12 more jobs than you. Everyone's getting the same thing. Like if you look at my Wattpad, everyone has like relatively the same format. Unless they're promoting something specifically or they've been working a little bit longer, you're going to get pretty much the same interview questions as the last person I spoke to. You're all going to get your photo that you picked, your nice little cover. I'll follow you on social media. Everyone gets the same thing. I'm very cookie cutter like that. Everyone gets the same thing.
You actually ask the same questions to everyone?
Well, it depends on the situation. So like, let's say if you interview somebody who has done, let's say, 5 movies, and they've been working for a little while, and then the other person has done around the same number of movies, they've been working for a little while. I think it's interesting to ask relatively the same questions to both those people and to see their answers is completely different. That's the fun part, to see like, wow, if I ask somebody who are some actors that inspire them, you're going to get completely different actors. That's really fun, I think. It's very rare that I get the same answer kind of thing. Then there's some that you could tell are like people's favorites. Like a lot of people will say Denzel Washington. They cite him as a favorite for a lot of them. So that's interesting when you talk to people who are different ages or have been working for different amount of time in their life. Like, wow, this actor has really made an impact on people and he's inspired so many. So I always thought that was really cool. Like if you ask the same question to somebody, it's like, oh, wow, look at that,
So you want to make sure that the questions are, oh, you're a guitarist. Okay, so what's it like being a drummer? It's like you'll ask questions like that. So my questions are always different, but I might ask the same question, like, give us a little backstory.
Right.
Tell us what makes you you. What are you passionate about? Stuff like that. You may have 5 questions, and each question might lead to more questions. Like,
Right.
tell us what you're passionate about. Well, I like my dog, and what's your dog's name? Oh, that's a great name, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep it real, as they say.
Right. And
I
I
feel
think
like
with anything in the creative world, I mean, with so many different things with that, there's always at least a moment that sort of inspires someone to take that on. Whether it was, hey, their mom put them like in music lessons and they realized that they really like it, or they literally watched TV and was like, I want to do that. I mean, that's like always the first question I ask people is what inspired you to do blank? Because there's always a moment, even if you don't realize it was a moment, there was a moment that you were kind of like, that's what I want to do. Even if you fell into it, there was a moment that you fell into it.
and what inspires you to do what you do?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how I look at it is like I compartmentalize. So what inspired me to do like art was just like watching shows, watching movies, and then drawing them for fun, and then wanting to learn more about the proper construction of drawing that character, for example, and then being in college, it enforced that more of understanding, oh, wow, this is how you do this, and now I understand that kind of way of thinking. And then with the interviewing, it was just being a fan of just watching interviews. Like when other kids were watching like video game tutorials on YouTube, I was watching interviews. I was watching like interviews of celebrities that I just like or singers that I like. And I always think it's interesting to just learn more about somebody beyond their work. And even someone's interviewing style. Do they answer personal questions? Do they skate around them? Do they talk about their work in a way where, like if someone writes a song, how do they talk about writing that song? Is it very passionately? Or, was it more like a fun song that they wrote or something like that? And I think that it's always been very fascinating to me how people answer their questions. And like when it comes to starting a company, I relate that back to art as well. I mean, everyone started off small at some point, then they grew bigger. And there's nothing wrong with having a pipe dream of being bigger. Even if it may not happen. It's fine to be very free thinking in that way, I think.
You were fantastic. You're amazing.
Thank you.
But why don't you give my interview process between 1 and 10?
I'll say that is a 10. You're very
Really?
personable, professional. I felt comfortable. So those are all good things, I think.
Wow, nice. Thanks.
Yeah, and a lot of that's like an interviewing style too. If someone wants to ask personal questions and that's their style, I never do. I'm not that way because I've always felt like when I watch interviews of celebrities I like growing up, and then they're thrown this super personal question. As a fan, I'm like, oh my God, what would I do if I was asked that? And then like you're kind of stressed That's not good. I don't want to watch and feel stressed.
When they kind of get comfortable with you, they're willing. You don't have to give them any spicy wings to get answers out of them.
Right.
But eventually they start opening up, and I like that. And you get to know them. Okay, Victoria, thank you very much for being on our show. Really appreciate it.
Well,
Thank you very much.